Allan McLennan is our moderator. We have our first session, How Big Tech AI Will Lead Broadcast Innovation. An important topic for us as they take the stage. It's because how is your life changing on a day-to-day basis and what you do and what's going to happen in the future? We're going to find out with some really interesting panel. And Allan, take it away.
As networks evolve to support new applications, the pressure can be overwhelming. Are you and your network suffering? There is hope. Introducing Packet Storm VIP, the SMPTE 2110 and IPMX monitoring system, monitoring 122 flows, 47 alarm metrics on each flow, and alarm-triggered packet captures. That's right, 47 alarm metrics and alarm-triggered captures. No one else does that. Trusted by industry-leading global companies, Packet Storm monitoring can help provide long-lasting network relief. Packet Storm is not for everyone. Don't use Packet Storm if you enjoy your PTP unlocking and intermittent glitches. Known side effects include faster provisioning, faster issue resolution, and longer lunch breaks. In rare cases, using Packet Storm may result in exorbitant year-end bonuses, free use of the company jet, and becoming a fashion icon. Talk to your CTO to see if Packet Storm is right for you. It is. Broadcast glitch-free with the Packet Storm VIP monitoring system.
So how many of you are going to sign up for this, for Packet Storm? It's going to be a lot of fun what you do. Hi everybody, I'm Allan McLennan. I'm the founder of PADEM Media Group. I see a lot of great faces, memories in the audience. A little bit about kind of going along with what was been mentioned by Tom and by Marty and Robin is we kind of started out before we even all got together around a round table on a call during COVID. And that call really led to all of this coming forward. So actually the group's been about 5 years in the making of pulling this together. You know, but before I get going on this, and we're going to be talking about big tech's AI and its influence within the broadcast category, what I'd like to say is, you know, all of this is really not anything except for each of your understanding of how AI works. AI is a phenomenal tool, but what we have to understand is that there really is a path in figuring out how it's best applied to your company's needs and services. It's not don't get paralyzed. This is something that's been going on for some time. And it's really key, and that's why each of you are here today, is to pick up a gem of knowledge to try to figure this out. Those that feel that they know it, don't. Because it's moving so fast and the new models are so strong and powerful that it's changing the way we do business. And this, for those of us looking in the crowd that have been through a number of the evolutionary periods of technical development, it's a new tech development, it's a new tool. And that tool is multifaceted in 1,000 different ways. So with that, I'd like to open up our conversation today with these experts that I'm really honored to be sitting with and having the opportunity to carry on a conversation. And in that, as you can see, there's Andrew Cross to my left, Jerry Ramo to my left, Mark Ramberg, and Katia Stewart with LinkedIn. And what I'd like to ask each of you, just take 1 minute and just let everybody know what you're doing and what's your background on this.
Gosh, I don't know where to start.
Yesterday?
I don't remember that. I've been in the media world since New Tech 25 years ago, and I think I helped pioneer software for use in live production, then IP, and now AI, and lots of fun things like that. So,
fantastic, Jerry.
My background's film and television. Came up doing camera work, working in post, ran a studio, and then moved over to tech a couple years ago, and kind of been a video specialist and doing what I can in different roles, and recently has been assigned to explore more of AI and how we can implement that into our workflow and our work streams.
Okay, fantastic, Mark.
Thanks, and good morning, everybody, and thanks for being here. So I'm Mark Ramberg. I lead the Media Services Product Team at Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI, most people call it. I've been in media tech for more than 3 decades now, both on the vendor side at Microsoft, AWS, other companies, as well as on the customer side at Hulu, Disney, Warner Brothers Discovery. For those of you that don't know much about OCI or haven't heard of us as much, we're a hyperscaler cloud service provider similar to AWS or GCP. Right now at OCI, we're working closely with the studios, the broadcasters, helping them harness AI for everything from model training to automated metadata generation. What else? Next-gen experiences for people. But I think the thing today that we want to talk about is, with the technology around AI and cloud changing so rapidly, it's a very exciting time for us to be rethinking how we can create and deliver media. So I'm really looking forward to kind of diving in on that today with all of you.
Fantastic. Katia?
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Good morning. My name is Katia Stewart. My background is TV, advertising, and now 7 years at LinkedIn as a senior strategy and account manager within LinkedIn Media Productions team. I'm also on 2 AI evaluation teams, AI tools for video. We've been testing rigorously for the last 2 years, and so far we've tested about 86 tools. It's an exciting journey. Some of the tools are being in-house, and I'm really, really excited to share some of the insights today and hear more about others.
One of the things that, as you've just heard, this is across the entire category. This is not only technology creation, it's distribution, and it's also creative. So we're going to come at this, multifaceted in this kind of discussion and the implementations. But I want to open it up, and I want to go to Jerry just to kick this. Can AI do film production?
If it hallucinates enough, maybe? I would say no.
No. Okay. And in the course, how about live event management in this area? Can we do that from a big tech AI standpoint?
No.
No. And I'm sure there's those in the audience that would disagree with that answer. But Andrew, do you have an opinion on that?
I think the answer is yes. But I think it's complicated. I think that, increasingly AI can do certain forms of live production, and it can make it, we have to think it's a bit like, self-driving cars. They don't replace humans at the wheel, but they can assist you a huge amount in the driving. Mm-hmm. And I think that we're going to increasingly see that. So these tools are going to be ones that make production far quicker, easier, and cheaper, and probably start to replace at the low end, for smaller productions, it's good enough. And, I think that we're probably there today, maybe just on the cusp of that. So I do see the trend in that direction. I think it's going to help us a lot, though.
There's no question. I've been, basically running a production facility in Hollywood for the last few years, up until recently. And in there, we definitely leveraged AI in the course of the efficiencies of the productions of what we're doing, whatever that may be. And one of the areas that I think is really key once we move through that, the development and the understanding, once it's done, is in distribution. And Mark, does it work really well in supply chain?
Yeah, I mean, kind of going back to their answers, I think it's more nuanced than yes or no. First of all, we talk about AI like it's this, like monolithic thing, but like it's pixie dust that we can sprinkle on our workflows and it just fixes everything. It's much more nuanced than that. There are certain areas where you can employ AI, whether it's predictive analytics or process automation or things like that, that AI is very mature in workflows already. There are other areas where, like final pixel generation for content production, may be good enough for short form or advertising type content. I don't think any major motion picture is using final pixel generation AI stuff for that at this point. They're using it for some of the earlier stages of the production workflow, the previs and automated, scripted to storyboards and things like that.
Mm-hmm. It's very helpful. It goes right along with Katia. So in this particular answer to what we just heard, it's augmentation versus replacement.
Yeah, it is augmentation. It's acceleration for us. It also can amplify amplify if the creative is good or not. It's a huge amplifier. So from what we're seeing, I cannot say that the AI cannot make a film without saying that, okay, well, of course, with like a team of humans overseeing it, right? So we're wrangling this tool. It's a tool, right? So it's a technology. And it is getting so much better, but I don't see a world in which any video can be 100% AI done. Like, I don't see that happening.
I agree. I think that's certainly a key component of the humans staying in control and staying a participant with the process. It's a part of the process. And coming along with us, it kind of opens up the question is, what is the most important aspect of implementing AI within the creation of content and production? Andrew?
I think when you think when I think about where we are in AI today, I think AI can produce amazing images, it can produce short video clips, it can produce great paragraphs. It's great at producing pieces of the content, and we look at that and we are often just amazed at what it does. And we go, well, this is clearly going to change the world. Now, the challenge is, how do you connect individual pictures or individual shots up to build the story and the actual show or the book in the case of writing? And I think that that is the connection we can't make yet. So we're great at producing a lot of the atomic pieces. How do we connect that back to the show? And that's where humans are still, that's where we are still all important. That's the next challenge. And I think increasingly the tools need to attack that problem. And that is what is going to make the use of AI just so much more useful than where we are today. So we have all these moments of brilliance. We need to connect them to the story, which is what humans are still useful for.
And I believe that's what everybody in this audience is looking to do, is learn how to basically implement that, because this is a process and it's only going to get better. It's a part of it. We're implementing it on different levels, and each stage is something that is learned and developed into a way that is providing the ultimate story at the end of the day in a more accelerated point, what Katia brought up. And it's acceleration of the process as much as anything else. Mark?
I was just going to add, I mean, there are so many amazing things that you can do with AI today, but ultimately you have to tie that back to how that helps you improve a process or aligns with the business needs. Like, even though you can generate a bunch of really cool pictures, is that aligned with what you're trying to do as a business?
As an individual, because we're not only talking about big tech in the studios and the broadcasters or broadcast innovation, which is the topic of this conversation, but it's also the creators, the creator economy too. And the creators are doing more short form, more engaging, it's generational. How this can be turned on to be able to provide this kind of insight from the individual. And what's astounding is that those tools are learning how that particular creator is putting together their overall story. So they can pull and push that out.
Yeah, and their roles are evolving as well. We talk to a lot of studios, and ultimately the roles of the creatives are changing from having to do the tedious manual, like interframe content creation, to moving to more of a creative role and an oversight role. They're looking for ways to improve their efficiency. I mean, if you talk to some of the big studios, they'll say, oh, right now we can do 2 or 3 feature-length films each year. We want to get that up to 5 or 6 by next year. And so they're looking at it from that level of business terms and saying, like, how can we employ AI across the entire media supply chain, not just in creating pixels, but distribution and all of those areas, to improve their efficiency and allow them to create more and deliver more movies per year.
Well, the delivery of movies and the production component, yeah, you're absolutely right. But let's not also look at the localization of that content to be distributed around the world. And AI is a very strong complement to being able to finish up and push out what used to be maybe 3 or 4 films a week now is between 12 and 16 a week because of the sheer localization in multiple languages. The dubbing's getting better and better as far as facial mapping. All kinds of elements come in to be able to hit the supply chain. But this afternoon, for those of you, Jim Lauterbach will be having a conversation about the creators, content creators. And creators is a very important component of how this particular part of the business is being empowered because of AI and the capabilities that they're able to then apply to their overall product and their distribution of it. But the basis and the foundation of this is really through a platform, Jerry, that GitHub has been really looking at, and how to build out this overall management platform, what Andrew was relating to, this process. And to tell us a little bit about what's just happened this last week. You've been on set. How is GitHub being engaged and used?
Yeah, I mean, it's, GitHub pushes AI. Copilot is a big tool for developing and getting into it. And I think, like, for us specifically within our video team internally, like, we're a small team of 7. We do over 150 projects a year. And they scale in different sizes and stuff. Trying to figure out how AI fits into that is not about replacement. It's about that efficiency. It's how we make our workflows better, how we can figure out how to use AI more. Not really generative, but more as a helper. GitHub, a lot of people build their tools on it. And I started exploring that this past year and started trying to figure out tools that I could build for myself as well, because in the end, it's empowering. Like, really, like, I feel like that's what it is. But I think it's also learning how to trust what it gives me back, because I think that's probably the struggle that comes with AI, whether it does help us make movies faster and be able to distribute more, but it's, if you're working in conjunction with it, is it working in your best interest, or is it trying to make sure that you want to keep coming back to it because it's giving you the right answer you want?
You just nailed something to me, and that is trust. Do you believe it? You have a certain reliance on yourself and your team, and then you're giving that towards a technology tool to come back to you. Katia, you've been producing and directing and creating content for some time that you've watched this evolution come into play, and now with LinkedIn you're providing that kind of service to the different kinds of content that you're creating. Is it a large component of what you're working with right now? How are you using AI? You're big tech. LinkedIn is big tech.
Well, I love Copilot. I must say, like, genuinely, like, I hated it first.
It's literally your
but
Copilot.
Now I do, because it just takes so much boring stuff out of my plate. I don't need to go and, like, find that email, find that notification, find that recap. Like, it's all right there. Like, it takes me 2 minutes to get any information from our ecosystem. So that's a good one. But in terms of, like, film, I really like aggregators. So that's what I play a lot with now, and we're actually building one right now within LinkedIn. I like Hicksville, I like Folly Eye. It's a playground. You go in and you can try things, and you have access to multiple models. It's just like all in one thing. You don't have to have million subscriptions. But the reality is we still will need individual subscriptions. My favorite thing is 11 Labs, which is so much fun. I needed a jingle for a podcast. In the past, how long would it take to get a good jingle? You would have to find music, write a song, find the performers and everything. It took me 5 minutes, and it was fun. It was good. It was like I wanted jazzy. It was jazzy. That's awesome, I feel like.
So as you're describing that, I can't help myself thinking about the auditing of that creative content that's being created, for that sound, and the potential of it lifting other music out in the market to be able to generate that, because it has to go somewhere to be able to learn how to create a more jazzy tune. Are you facing those kinds of issues when it comes to the auditing of the content, the copywriting of your content? Or is it pretty open? You don't mind others learning off of what you've created and providing and lifting that kind of...
I don't.
You don't?
Personally.
Right?
I don't. But I understand, there are some things that in terms of ethics, that I'm very much not aligned with. I don't like reusing Studio Ghibli's stuff that was done, like, over and over again, because I know it's not my little jingle that I spent 5 minutes creating on. It's years and sometimes decades of develop and experiment and to build that specific style, Miyazaki style, right, that all of a sudden became like available to anybody. Is it a good thing? I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah, it is a significant problem in the industry right now, the provenance of content and like where the models were trained. We hear this time and time again from studios that say, I'll use the example of like if you turn on your TV and you're watching a show, within about 10 seconds you can decide whether or not what you're watching is a Star Wars show, like whether it's the original movie or it's a Mandalorian or something. There's a look and feel to all the Star Wars stuff that you can feel. And Disney sees that as their core IP. They don't want the models to be trained on that so that other people can generate content and sort of Disneyfy or Star Warsify their content, because that is valuable content and IP for Disney. And so a lot of the studios are now looking at like how can you have these baseline models but then also train a private model that kind of layers these things on top of it so you can know that you're using your own data.
Yeah, firsthand, there's an organization within our category and industry called C2PA. And C2PA, from a verification of content of what you're talking about, is imperative to be able to move out, because verification of whether or not it's real is, there's 130 million deepfakes a day in video that's pushed out, the editors being able to capture that. So what we're talking about here, I'm hearing from, how big tech's AI is influencing broadcast innovation or supporting innovation comes back to that capability, is not only the efficiencies that we're talking about here, but it's also, how we can protect it. This isn't content protection, this is the next generation of making sure, because it's so easily manipulated and represented that I don't know about anybody, does anybody in the audience ever second guess if something is real? Just have a show of hands. It's amazing. It's now become a part of what I look at. It's like, this is too good to be true.
But I will say that it was maybe only a year ago when you would look at some AI-generated video, and it was nightmare fuel. I mean, people had 16 fingers, and just in the short period of time in the last year, now we're saying, like, I can't tell it from real. So the pace of innovation is incredible.
Just a couple of weeks ago, here in the Bay Area, we had something that was known as the King Tides. And up in Marin, where I live, where my base is, it closed the freeway. I mean, the waters came in and it created, within a half a mile inland, a good 6 to 8 feet depth from the seawater coming in. In the Redwood High School in Corte Madera, there was a tiger shark that came in. And people were taking pictures of it. And interestingly, on different threads, people were going, is this AI generated? Is this real? And it wasn't until someone actually went into the water and kind of stood nearby that they realized it was real. So, I mean, this has permeated all of us right at the moment of whether the creation of content is justifiably been produced by a group of creators that have been able to put this out and be able to be embraced. Andrew, you were one of the inventors of NDI and the technology in itself. Did you ever kind of think that this would ever get to this point of the efficiencies now that a tool can lay on top and leverage this?
I don't know. I think, we've seen, we've seen this exponential increase in compute, which has allowed us to do more and more. And I think we probably are surprised a little bit that it has gone this fast, although maybe we shouldn't have been. But as we talk about, like copying styles and making images, there's nothing that wasn't technically possible with a lot of work before. We've just made it much, much easier and much quicker. So, we could always, somebody could work out how to copy the Star Wars style. It just would take a decade of learning to do it. Now we can do it overnight. I just, what we've done is we've democratized it. We've made it so that anyone can do it. I don't know that there's a big change here other than the ease of use. And that maybe is making us ask some fundamental questions, but I don't think we should be surprised by this. And I'm not even sure it's new. We just have got somewhere we maybe feel a bit uncomfortable with. Now we're there. But I think this was somewhat inevitable.
Mm-hmm. But the comfort level is from an education standpoint. If you feel confident that you understand the process, you really are able then to implement it on a more constructive basis. I'd have to think, Jerry, that you're realizing that and facing this on an ongoing basis with GitHub. You're getting feedback from others and you're tweaking, let's just say, use that as a term, of your overall platform.
Yeah, I mean, it's for my like personal self too. I started using Copilot in an IDE, and I started using
Copilot.
You know,
Again.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, intentional, huh? It's very empowering, but it's very fast. And as you developing NDI early on, it's like, but I have no background in developing at all. I'm all film and TV, but I've actually like made like an app for a coworker, but just by using Copilot and explaining the information and the tools. But I wouldn't call myself a developer, because I can't go through line by line and explain what this process is. And I think that's a bit of where we're looking at someone create something on AI, and are they now a filmmaker? Are they now an artist? I think there's also this question about what is that tool and what is it empower? Like, maybe it's like the intention and where it lands and what you're trying to do with it, but I think that's just a question, as you're bringing up, Andrea, like there's questions for us now that we're facing, because I think everything's moving so fast, and how quickly AI does look really, how better, it looks great now compared to a year ago. It's the same thing of like what you can develop going in there, not really knowing anything, reading a few maybe blog entries and then saying, okay, let me test this out. So there's empowerment, but I think it just raises more questions.
Yeah, you bring up a good point about changing. There are, with all the things that are changing right at the moment that, a year and a half, 2 years ago, it wasn't on the roadmap of the companies. They weren't looking at the demand on storage, the intelligence that is required behind it. And we're not talking about just AI, we're talking about access management and elements that are within the storage. Cloud efficiencies, GPUs. I mean, everybody see that Microsoft announced a new chip today, and it's going to go right against NVIDIA. It's pretty impressive, the specs that came, at least in the press release, that you're reading, going, ooh, those are big numbers. But this process, so as fast as we're developing and getting our hands around this and understanding how this influence is taking place in each of the areas of our expertise, we're falling behind as the pace of evolution of the technology. So, Mark, you're facing this on an ongoing basis within OCI with GPUs and storage and the partnership. I mean, are people hyperventilating right at the moment because they can't keep up with it? For those of us that lived through the initial, 2000s, 2001, you just couldn't keep up with everything that was going on. But now we're back in that state. What's going to be announced today?
Yeah, I mean, as a cloud services provider, OCI is facing these challenges every day. We're trying to build out new data centers as fast as we can. There's a model that we talk about sometimes as we build out these data centers, and we're building some of the biggest data centers that you can imagine. Many millions of square feet and gigawatts of power requirements, and it's all to power AI, right? But the challenge is that a lot of times when you have these big capital intensive build outs, let's say you're building an apartment building. This is the analogy that our CEO Clay uses. He says, you build an apartment building, then you got to go find people to rent all the apartments in that building after you finish it. We're in a mode right now where we're building these data centers, and we've already pre-sold all the availability of that infrastructure. So yes, people are definitely, there's massive demand right now for the infrastructure to power model training and to power all these different AI use cases.
So in reality, this is where big tech can collaborate with the industry as a whole, because each one of those are components of need that have to be provided as the scale of activity is increased and developed, no pun intended. And I'll tell you, you're dealing with this on a creative production standpoint all the time. So is this a place where big tech can collaborate with industry?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, kind of to my point that I made earlier about AI not being monolithic, you also have to try and segregate or separate the layers of the technology stack and where different people and companies' expertise lies. I mean, as a cloud service provider, we provide infrastructure. We provide platform level services. We are an enabler of a lot of these use cases. We partner with all of the industry tools vendors, with various other companies that are providing solutions, managed solutions, and things further up the stack. We need to enable them to be successful, to run their businesses better, faster, cheaper, and that's a big focus of what we're going to do. The platform level services that we're building at OCI are really to ensure that people have that scalable, secure, this platform for innovation that's going to enable people to develop these AI-based solutions and run their businesses more efficiently.
Just in closing, we just have half a minute here. What I'm really hearing is that there is the opportunity for everyone, for Katia with your team, Jerry, yours. The collaboration component is imperative of how you're learning and how big tech will learn how to better implement this kind of technology as we move forward. So collaboration, education, and key insight to share with your companies on how this evolution is coming into play is really important right now. We're not going back. This is moving forward, and it's going forward very positively. It's up to you to be able to pull this together and make it work. Thank you.